Welcome to Kankakee Podcast, where we talk about the people and the places of Kankakee County. I'm Drew Raisor, and today we are joined by Our Aging Services. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks so much for coming on. We're excited to have you guys.
Oh, we're excited.
Cool. So I got a couple of questions for you guys. So I myself have done a little bit of research. I love what you guys are about, love what you guys are doing, but I have some questions for the audience as well. That way they can kind of get to know you guys and that kind of thing. So what sparked your guys' idea for Our Aging Services?
So initially, I planned on doing my aging services and just focusing on the senior living aspect. But from a personal perspective, I have a daughter on the spectrum. Megan has a medically fragile child, and we talk every day. We're childhood best friends. We talk multiple times a day. I mean, we were, from 5th and 6th grade. Best friends, sitting at the table, eating, playing Scrabble, eating a loaf of toast, whatever. But, we talk every day. I have a daughter on the spectrum. She has a son. And what I came to realize was we really were talking the same language. So in the senior living world, I would say care plan. Megan's referring to the special ed world as an IEP. Case management, same thing for an aging senior. It relates to that of a special needs or person with disabilities. So we decided, I'm like, hey, why don't we join forces and tackle this thing together? We'll have a bigger outreach, a larger footprint, and just share the knowledge that we figured out. So she finally agreed.
Yeah, great. That's finally awesome. Did it take some trying to convince her?
Yes, it did.
Well, I worked full time, and then having Hank is one of the reasons we do what we do. Working full time and managing Hank's care coordination in the States is not the greatest. In managing his care, I thought, Leslie's asking me to come aboard. How am I going to add one more thing on my plate? And then I thought, if I'm struggling to manage all of these things and I'm in the system and I know how to work the system, I really need to help other families. And we kind of came to that, I really need to reach out. We need to reach out and help these families who are struggling, who aren't in the system, and who don't know how to navigate this space. And that's just kind of how we banded together.
She finally said yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what do you guys specifically do? I heard case management. That's one of them. What do you guys do for both seniors and other people with special needs and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so a lot of the things we're doing the same kind of work. It's just called something differently. So from a senior's perspective, I do case management. I'm like an emergency contact for, some families who don't have family. We do what I would say Megan would refer to transition planning in her world. I'm doing transition planning for seniors as well. If you want to explore living in a different level of care, such as assisted living, supportive living, skilled nursing, or you're discharging from the hospital and you need that help, case management through continuum of care. And one thing I always find important and I talk about a lot is, do you have your affairs in order? So I poll every time we're at an expo. I just mark down what people are telling me, and we're finding about 50% of seniors that I come across do not have their affairs in order. So I created what's called a peace packet, and it's really just documentation that a couple. I mean, I need to finish mine, and I'm 53. Yeah. And so when I say older, I'm not talking 70 or 80, I'm talking, maybe 40s or 50s. We're starting to talk about those things. So it's really just a document that makes you think, kind of gets your wheels spinning on what does that look like as I age? What things do I need to worry about? What do I want my kids to know? And I find, and even in my own family, people don't like to talk about it. Yeah. It's a scary thing to talk about, right? Scary. Yeah. So even my own parents, it's hard for them to have the conversation. So that's just some of the things I do from the senior perspective. I do some community outreach that we can talk about, later. But from a senior perspective, that's what I do. And then Megan has hers as well.
Yeah. In the developmental disability world, we actually help families access missed government funding. So what resources does your child with an intellectual disability, with autism, Fragile X, cerebral palsy, What services and resources are they entitled to? What are they eligible for? And how can we access them? So there's a lot that goes into that. We talk a lot about entitlement while they're in school before they age out after their 22nd birthday to eligibility. And it's a whole different world once they age out of school. They fall into the eligibility. We call it the cliff effect. Right now, they're surrounded by supports while they're in high school. And as they age out, then it's all left on the parents. So we've created a space, a safe space to help families navigate the bureaucracy, the red tape, and these government resources. We do a lot of hand-holding. And when I say hand-holding, I don't mean that insulting. I mean, we can come to your home and talk about the importance of prioritization of urgency of need services, supplemental security income, also known as SSI, Medicaid, various Medicaid waivers, how to access them and how to use them, and how to qualify for them. So many people don't know that you need less than $2,000 to your name in order to qualify for SSI. It's a low-income disability, low-income disabled program for individuals with disabilities. So many families, like as parents, we tend to save money, right, for our kids, whether it's a 529, whether it's a savings. And then if you have a child with disabilities, I'm going to say we need to talk about the finances. And many people don't understand that. They also don't understand that they need Medicaid to access services. Medicaid is a driving force for individuals with developmental disabilities. It doesn't matter if you make $500,000 a year. It doesn't matter if you have $1 million income. You need Medicaid to access supports for your child with disabilities 18 and up.
Yeah, absolutely. And do people ever come to you guys because it's a daunting task to even look at?
Yes.
I'm as somebody which I'm 23, so I'm not quite there yet, but it's a very daunting task to plan either the end of your life or to come in to get those disabilities, that kind of stuff. How do you guys maybe ease some of that stress whenever you're working with clients?
Well, when Megan talked about going into the home, our first step is doing like an hour assessment virtually, typically, and we have that. We do a formal assessment, so we try to find out as much as we can about the person. But really, after that assessment, and if a family decides to work with us, we prefer to go into the home. It's just, we always say whatever you're comfortable with, but we really do have a different lens when we walk in there. And we typically are picking up on things that the family necessarily maybe were like, oh, I didn't even think about that. It's definitely a different perspective when you're looking from the outside in. So fortunately, we have the ability to do that. So,
and we're allowing them in a safe space to talk about the things that they don't want to talk about. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to talk about what's life going to be like when you're not here. Yeah. So we sit down and have those conversations, like in the developmental disability world, with the parents. Who's going to love and support your child when you're no longer here? There's lots of tears. These are conversations parents don't want to have, but these are the conversations that we need to have. And all of these resources, governmental resources that they may be eligible for, are daunting. There's bureaucratic red tape, there's qualifications, there's eligibility criteria. It's a lot. And then navigating that world and how much can I make? Where do we spend the money on? Why don't I qualify for this program? Because as they age out, nobody in the adult world has to service your child. Yeah. They don't have to take them. They don't have to have a reason to where when they're in high school, they have to service your child. That falls under entitlement.
Yeah. And I feel like that's something also that I feel like people just sometimes don't even think about. It's they go every day in their life and they're thinking, oh, like what happens, that kind of thing. But then it does catch up to you very quickly.
And they don't realize that having a child with a disability is expensive. Right. It's costly, especially if your child can't stay home alone. So I'll give you an example. My Hank, when he turns 22, we're already running into roadblocks with community day programs. He's not going to be able to work and have a job. So then we look at community day programs, and a lot of community day programs don't take you if you have epilepsy, if you have behaviors, if you need assistance with toileting, if you have a trach, if you have a vent, if you use assistive technology device. So with that being said, I'm going to have to quit my job and take care of him full time. Yeah. and be his full-time caregiver. How is that good for, the community? He's losing a sense of community. He's losing a sense of belonging, and he's home with me all day.
Yeah, and I was going to ask that. Do you guys also help with, which may be more on the disability side, do you also help integrate them into the community more, whether it's with jobs or whether it's with like just setting them up with better situations? Do you guys do that as well, or are you guys more just the behind the scenes kind of thing?
No, like for instance, if we have an individual with disabilities and they want to find a part-time job, we're going to link them with the appropriate resources.
Gotcha.
To help them with supported employment, customized employment, terms we use in the Division of Rehab Services world. So yes, we would link them and refer them for services. And then we would work with them on, okay, if you're receiving Social Security and working, how do you balance the two so you don't lose one benefit so you can go back to work?
100%. What are some of the struggles that you guys see families face the most in your guys' organization?
From a senior perspective, it is not understanding what Medicare covers as they age out. Many times, so I used to manage some communities, and I would have a family sitting across from me, very new into even talking about assisted living or senior living, and them not realizing that Medicare doesn't pay for you to just stay in a community. So if Medicare is going to be covering something, they're going to cover skilled nursing. If it's traditional Medicare, it's 100 days. It's a rolling year. So if you use 80 days from January 1st to the 80th day, and let's say you're not making gains, so you're in therapy and you're not making gains, they're going to say, okay, Medicare is not going to continue your stay.
Really? They can do that?
Yeah, they can do that because from a Medicare perspective, they're saying you need to make gains in order for us to ethically pay for you to continue to stay in the community, right? So if you're not making gains, then it's what happens? Are you able to go home? Safely go home? Is there a safe discharge plan in place? If you're not able to go home safely, can you afford to stay and pay privately? A nursing home for a private pay patient can cost anywhere from $8,000 to $18,000 a month. A month. Most people don't have that, or it's going to run out very quickly. So that, I would say, is just understanding and navigating, moving through that continuum of care is probably the biggest hurdle most families struggle with. So explaining and understanding it and what happens next.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So from a senior perspective, I would say.
And in the developmental disability world, a lot of it is caregiving is a big challenge to find, as our kids get older, now you're taking care of adult individuals with disabilities. They may need toileting. They may need feeding assistance. And caregiving is a big one for many families. And then funding and resources. We always tell Leslee and I always tell families that our kids are not the burden in society. It's the lack of resources that's the burden. They belong in the community. So it's really hard for parents as their children age out of school after their 22nd birthday. So they can stay in after their 22nd birthday. And then as they age out, they lose their sense of community. They lose their sense of belonging. They lose part of their lifeline. So school is their lifeline in the community. And if they age out and there's nothing for them, if they're not working, they're not part of a community day program, they don't have funding because it's expensive to send your child to a community day program, you lose all of those things. And that can be very isolating and that can be very lonely. And then we can see life expectancy decrease.
And I'll piggyback too when she was talking about caregiving and transportation. So I live in the West Kankakee area. Megan lives up north. We service all of Illinois currently. The top two calls I get in this area from seniors, typically low-income seniors, are caregivers. They want access to caregivers or I need help in the home. And they typically cannot afford to pay for a private caregiver. And two is transportation. We really do not have resources in the area for someone who needs to get to the doctor or who needs medical transport other than an ambulance. Well, an ambulance service to take someone in a wheelchair is extremely expensive. So, and a lot of families or children are then, trying to take off work. A lot of them aren't able to take off work as much as they need, and then getting them in and out of the car and to the appointments and stuff like that. But I would say in the area, those are the top 2 calls I get for seniors.
So you guys talk about the resources and how there should be more for both people you guys work with. Do you guys work with any other organizations as well to maybe get some of those resources that you guys maybe couldn't get just by yourselves?
We're doing a resource fair to kind of network with resources. We also make a lot of referrals. Like if you want employment assistance, we're going to work with Division of Rehab Services. We're going to be working with Illinois Institute of Technology to provide, like, what happens if your child needs an AAC device, which stands for Assistive Technology Device. I know I use that. So we work with work incentive planning assistance with benefits coordinators for individuals who want to go back to work and have SSI or SSDI, and how to work the 2 benefits so you don't lose them. So those are just some of the resources that we work with.
Very cool.
From a senior perspective, I'm always having those conversations with the person on the other line, or the end of the line. So if I'm feeling that they may be more appropriate, they can't afford to pay their rent, they're in a low income building, they're struggling to buy toiletries. They're making the decision on whether to buy toilet paper or to pay their ComEd bill. Yeah. And so I'll kind of start the conversation of, have we considered ever going to a supportive living? Supportive living is basically assisted living, but Medicaid will pay for your stay. So if you are a low-income senior over 65, they'll provide you with an apartment. They will sometimes provide your toiletries. You're going to get 3 square meals a day, and all your utilities are included. So it's a good way. So I'm constantly like, oh, have we thought about this community? Would you like to tour a community in particular? So I'm always referring to that. Or is it senior adult daycare? We have a new one in the community. So I'm continually, if I'm talking to someone and I don't have the direct resources, I'm going to try my best to connect them to the right resources, or at least recommend, that as well.
So the other day I saw a flyer just around town about the Café of Mistaken Orders. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Sure. So it is a community outreach program for us to basically teach compassion and empathy for those with memory loss. So what it entails is, if you choose to join in on our experience, individuals with dementia will actually be taking your order and serving your food.
That is so cool.
Yeah, so it's awesome. It's awesome. So you may order pancakes and sausage, but you might get toast and coffee, and that's okay. So the whole point is, it's okay that we're making mistakes. Mm-hmm. How do we be empathetic and compassionate to those with memory loss? Once the guest server will serves your food, their server buddy will get meals for both the server buddy and the guest server. They'll sit down at the table with the table that they served. So it's a great opportunity for people in the community to sit down at the table with the guest server, with the server buddy, have conversation, to be engaged, to allow that person to feel seen, feel heard, to have purpose. And sometimes people aren't great at talking, right? So if people at the table are feeling uncomfortable, the server buddy will have training and they can guide some of the conversation. So it's just comfortable for everybody and to make it enjoyable for everybody. Mm-hmm. So it's just one of the, ways that we can reach out to the community. So dementia is rising. So it's expected to double by 2035. It's in the millions. And we're already at a staffing shortage in the US. We know that, and it's globally. And so my thought was, how can we, one, think outside the box and shed a different light on people with dementia, is there an opportunity to create interest for somebody that thought, oh gosh, maybe I would love to be a caregiver.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe I would love to be a nurse or a CNA.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to get creative just across the board when it comes to staffing. My hope is that we're going to have pop-ups monthly, and I can partner. I have some senior living communities we're going to do events on. So you can kind of look at me as the party planner.
Gotcha.
Right.
That's awesome.
I'm going to bring the aprons. I'm going to bring everything there is for the event. Mm-hmm. Do the emails, do the invites, kind of stay on top of who are SVPs, but it's a way to do a fundraiser. So there is a cost for the experience, but I think it's just a great thing. There's none. I've done my research. There's nothing like this in the U.S.
Gotcha.
There is, and I got the idea from a restaurant in Japan.
Oh, okay.
Back in 2017 when I was doing some research and found that there was a restaurant of Mistaken Orders, and they only employed people with dementia. And the success rate, or the right order rate, was 38%. So, but this customer satisfaction rate was 99%. So, yeah. So we're looking forward to that. That's October 9th.
Gotcha. October 9th.
Yep.
Put in your calendars.
Yep.
I'm going to have to come by. That's so cool.
No, please join us. There's 2 servings, one at 10 a.m., one at 11:30 at the Knights of Columbus. And you can go on our website at ouragingservices.org and register there.
That's awesome. And that's a good way to also, for people with dementia, to get a chance to go out there and interact and have that experience, as well as those who don't, to come in. And maybe people are naive to what dementia is, or naive to just people with disabilities, or who are elderly in that case. It's a good chance for them to come in and just sit down and, I think, grow as a community in that aspect. Mm-hmm. That's so cool.
Absolutely. And even when I was managing communities, and I would have CNAs or caregivers onboarding, the amount of people that just really didn't understand, or they would come back to me with a behavior and say, they knew better, or I can't believe they did that. Right. Well, we're really just living in their reality at this point, right? So there is a term called therapeutic fibbing, and I was always I am a big promoter of it. And it's basically you're living in their world, and whatever they say or do, you're really rolling with it. As long as they're in a safe space, it's okay. Right. So I think it's a great opportunity for our community, because we are a dementia-friendly community, actually. So I think it's just a great way to promote that as well.
Yeah, 100%. So you guys also have, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Life Resources Fair. Is that the right name for it?
Yes, we have a resource fair. Our Aging Services is putting on a resource fair October 25th. It's going to be at the Kankakee Public Library from 10 to 1. So come out. If you have a child with developmental disabilities, we want to reach you. We want to talk to you. We want to share resources with you. We want to hear your story. We have some keynote speakers. Ruth from the ARC is going to be coming to talk about resources, government resources. And then I'll be touching base on some resources, Medicaid waivers, Social Security as well. Give you some tips, some hints. We have various vendors in the community coming, and I think it'll just be really a great event. We want to help provide some resources for you and some support for you. Sometimes having a child with disabilities, it's hard to get out. It's hard to network. As I stated earlier, sometimes it can be lonely and isolating because finding care is challenging. Bring your kiddo, bring your child. We're here to help you.
That's awesome. That's very great. Well, I believe that's all I have. Anything else you guys want to bring up or talk about?
Nope. I would say the only other thing is our mission and is to advocate with kindness. So we have found that by advocating with kindness, we really do get further with things, quicker responses to SSI applications, because at the other end of the phone, or in the government office, it's no fault to theirs that they're, staffing shortages, and they're struggling with resources as well. But it's done us really good. So our average for Social Security claims we've gotten some approved in as early as 6 weeks. But others on our average is about 3 months. And if you're aware of that process, or if you listen to the news, they'll tell you that it's going to take you anywhere from a year to 2 years. And so we have figured out a process and a way to do that in 6 weeks to 3 months. So
That's amazing.
Yeah, Leslee and I are on the phone with Social Security. We're the ones talking with them, same as Medicaid. And if you've ever dealt with Medicaid and Social Security, you could be on the phone for quite a while, ready to get through to someone. And we always, to piggyback what Leslee said, we always remind families that the person on the other line, on the other side of the email, on the other side of that Zoom or Google Meet, it's not that they're being rude and ignoring you. It's just that their caseloads are so large, it's hard for them to reach everyone. And we always say in the adult world, don't assume anybody's going to get back to you. Don't assume people are going to return emails and phone calls. So Leslee and I will be that person to stay on top of all of that.
Yeah. And if you are needing our resource, for our aging services, you can look us at our website, ouragingservices.org. We have all of our information on there. Or you can call us directly at 888-742-2850.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. I appreciate it a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys. See you next time.